Ryan, schematically, how much different is Michigan under Mike McDonald compared to what they were under Don Brown?
Significantly different. Yeah, I think this style of defense is a little bit more NFL oriented. The way that they're structured, I felt like Coach Brown was a little bit more college oriented, and they're very good. They have very good personnel, and they've done a good job this year.
Your first game in the rivalry was in 2017. Is it one of those things where you can be told time and time again, whether you're a player or a coach, but until you experience it, you don't really know what the intensity level is like in this game?
Yeah, I would say so. And I thought I'd seen a lot of games, and before we even kicked the ball off, they tell me that JT took a shot in his knee, and he may not be able to play before he even played a single snap in that game. So I knew at that point we were in scramble mode, and Dwayne had to come in the third quarter. So. And every year, it's a battle.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic. Ryan, playing Craig Young at cover safety last week, playing him just sort of a little more in general in that role, was that kind of using the guy's skill set dependent on the matchup you guys had there?
That's what it was, yeah. Craig's a little bit, bigger and gives us a little bit more in the run game there based on some of the personnel that we're getting. So. And it's week in and week out based on what we're seeing.
With a guy like that, I'm sure he had thoughts on what his role might be this year. He's not played a ton. You moved him around a little bit. Just how have you seen him handle all of that to now he's at the point where you're counting on him late in the season?
Yeah, no, he's had a great attitude all year, and I think because of that, he's playing late in the season for us, and he's a very important part of our defense. I thought that he's worked really, really hard. His attitude's been great, and so here we are in some of our biggest games, and he's out there.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, The Dispatch.
Ryan, coming into this year, Denzel Burke hadn't played corner a ton in high school, played some receiver, then was hurt his senior year. Did you know he could, make this much of an impact from the start and to play as much as he had and been as counted on as much as he had?
We knew he was talented, but didn't know he'd be able to make the impact that he's had so far. And he's got a huge challenge this week, and he's going to work really hard in preparation for this game. This is his first rivalry game, so I know he's excited about that. But he has really, learned the position well and stepped right in. And he's very competitive, and I think that's the thing you notice week in and week out is how competitive he is and, how consistent he's been.
Did he show that early on, like in camp?
Yeah, he showed up pretty early in a couple of the spring practices. Even he was coming off with a shoulder injury. He made a few plays early on, and you can usually tell with a young player when they make a couple plays, you have one.
Front row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, obviously you guys didn't play Thibodeau, and you guys handled Karlaftis pretty well. As a quarterback, when you know there's two guys that you kind of have to deal with, like what's going through your mind, and you know that either side there's a guy who can come get you.
Yeah, very, very big challenge for our tackles and for our whole offense. These guys do a great job off the edge and up front too. The two inside guys are very powerful. They do a great job in coverage, so it's going to be a big challenge for our guys in protection and for CJ and everybody. But it's also going to be the receivers to make sure they're getting open with separation. It's everybody across the board. It's the running backs picking up things, and so yeah, very, very talented, very powerful on the edge. They mix up their rushes, so again, big challenge.
When there is two of them, does it kind of change the game plan a little bit? Like you want to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands a little bit quicker just to help those tackles out?
You can do different things, but at the end of the day, you don't want to, get crazy and start to, deviate from what you do well. But you have to know where they are, and you have to respect them for sure.
Third row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, Ryan, I saw in the game notes, but I think Thayer's the only guy who's started against Michigan. A lot of your starters haven't even played against Michigan. How do you make sure that the guys are ready for everything this rivalry entails?
Well, we work it year round. Every day we work it. We work it in the off season. We work it on Fridays. They're in the weight room. We have so many different things that we talk to our guys about. We have our sessions in the preseason and in spring. We have meetings about it. So we just constantly talk about it, and we talk about it in recruiting. This is our number one goal here at Ohio State is to beat the team up north, period. And we got to do it. So I think the guys understand that. They understand what a huge week this is for so many reasons. First off, just the rivalry itself. And then secondly, there's everything on the table here, certainly an opportunity to go to Indianapolis. So we have their attention. Those guys have not played in the game though, and it's a first time for everything. So they got to do a great job in preparation. But at the end of the day, they can't also make it bigger than it is. They have to just go out there and prepare and do what they've done all season.
This team is peaking at the right time to where you're ready to go play your best football in these biggest games of the year?
I mean, I hope so. I think, now that we're 11 games into this thing, we know who we are and we know what we need to do. And when we're all playing together, then, we're pretty dangerous. But, all it takes is a little bit off, a little bit, here and there, and it's different. So that's why we have to bring it every week. And that's what we talked about going into last week is, the best team doesn't win. The team who plays the best win. You have to play the best. And how do you do that? You prepare during the week at a high level. So the competition is on this week to prepare as high as we possibly can. And even then, it only gives you a chance. So, and we got Thanksgiving this week. So it's all those things that our guys are doing for the first time this week. But I feel much different than I did, obviously, 11 weeks ago with this team.
Cody Simon, Kate Kaczorski both left the game with injuries. Are there any updates on their status?
Cade and who?
Cody Simon.
Yeah. Cade, we'll see. It looks like it's probably more of a long-term deal. And then Cody does not look like a long-term deal.
So deep left, Jacob Bench, the Lantern. Hey Ryan, you just touched on it a minute ago about how dangerous the offense is, and given it's number one in the country, and you're going up against the Wolverines defense this week that's also top 10 in the country, just what do you expect this week in terms of offense versus defense? Is this going to be the toughest challenge you've had all year?
Yeah. This is a very good defense. I think they're well coached and they have really good players. Playing with an edge. So, we got to practice with an edge and we got to bring it as well. And it's going to come down to certainly how hard each team plays, which I think you're going to get everybody's best effort. But then it comes down to execution. Who makes plays in the end. So the preparation this week is very, very important.
When an offense is as explosive as it is, going against a defense that locks down as much as it does, what is the key to one going over the other in a sense from your vantage point?
I just think that when you're playing matchup games like this, it comes down to whatever edge you're looking for, and that's whether it's a schematic edge, whether it's an edge fundamentally, whatever it is, you have to find that edge in games like this. And so both teams have played a lot of football now, so they kind of know where they're at, and it's just a matter of now putting together a great game plan, practicing it, and then putting it on the field on Saturday.
Wide right, play hall from the FYX. Just curious if you've ever gotten caught in the tunnel that leads to the field and what you felt in that, walking beside them. Do players ever get in the face of a coach, or is it always player and player, or what the hell do you hear in that tunnel?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that tunnel. There's a lot of emotions are running high during the game, and so there's fans, there's opposing players, there's opposing coaches. We've had coaches who coach for the other team and coaches they coached with and kind of barking at each other in there. I mean, there's been all the above. So, but that's how you like it. That's what you want in a game like this.
The adrenaline's already going at that point, right?
The adrenaline's going now. Yeah.
Today.
Oh, yeah.
12:14 on Tuesday.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hey, Ryan, you grew up in New Hampshire. Throughout your coaching career until you got here, you had no connection with this game. When did it hit you just how big this game was?
My first year here, when my son would come in, every time we left the Woody, we would go through at the front door and watch the highlight video of the game before, and that was the double overtime game. And I just remember thinking to myself, I just want to be a part of this because it meant so much to so many people. And I watched this game growing up, watched so many games, watched that game the year before, and just saw what it meant. And instantly, it became something I just wanted to be a part of, and hope that I was able to enjoy, a victory against the team up north. And it's something that I understand what it means to so many people, and just tried to embrace it over the years.
Can you describe the pressure that you feel, especially in a game like this one with so much at stake? I mean, it's not just the rivalry; it's everything else this year.
Yeah, I try not to focus on that because it doesn't do you any good. When you start to think about what you just said, it can become overwhelming for anybody. And to say it isn't, that's not accurate. So what do? You just get right back in it right now. Let's go. Let's have a great day today. Let's have a great team meeting. Let's have a great practice, and let's just try to grind the best we can as we get into to Saturday at noon. And I don't know what else to tell you other than, there is a lot of pressure, and that's the way you want it. You want this game with everything riding on it. At their place, it's going to be, wild environment, and again, that's why you come to Ohio State.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Letterman roll.
Ryan, Urban pretty famously would look for, I don't know, quotes or comments from analysts or the other team and use that message board material sometimes. What's your philosophy on that? Do you find it works? Do you want it? Do you look for it? Do you use it?
I mean, we focus on ourselves, but, there's obviously social media out there, and there's, guys read things here and there, and, we certainly don't need extra motivation for a game like this. Everything's riding on it, and it's the rivalry game, but, I know the guys are always watching and see what's going on up there.
Is there even an actual bulletin board anymore, or is that like...
We have TVs.
Okay.
We have TVs throughout the facility, and we'll put some stuff up on there every now and again.
If you're working on a speech, though, does that stuff slip in that something that somebody might think, or is that just not part of the way you operate?
I don't know. I think I try to think things through when we message the team. We try to be very thoughtful about that. But then every once in a while, you let your emotions kind of jump in. You have to be real. I think the guys appreciate that.
We're going to go far left, Ross Gellinger, Sports Illustrated.
Ryan, last year's game being canceled, emotionally, what kind of impact did that leave on your team?
It was actually a fairly quick turnaround because it was the third game that we actually had canceled that year, and we quickly were told that we were playing a game the next week. It was a difficult year last year, and we had several games that were canceled, and so at that point we were kind of riding the roller coaster a little bit, but it was certainly something that we had to kind of turn over the next page quickly and move on.
This year, how does it impact any motivation or anything?
I mean, I don't think we need any more motivation. Two teams playing in the rivalry game for a chance to go to Indianapolis. Two very good teams, and here we are in November, Thanksgiving week. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Front row middle, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
Do you know yet if Emeka is available on Saturday? I guess it's kind of a two-part question. First on him, and then secondly, why was Julian the guy that you chose out of everybody to take that on last night?
We're hoping to have Emeka for this weekend available, but Julian, he first off, he wants to do it. He really was kind of in Parker's ear all month about getting back there, and then certainly when Emeka was unavailable, he wanted to get in there and kind of owned it. And I thought he did a couple good job on a couple of the returns, and we're getting close there. But I think that Julian has the big playability to take one back. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's got good running skills, and so that's another weapon for us back there.
How much do you prepare to see J.J. McCarthy mixed in with their offense, and what just your analysis of what you've seen from him in the way they've used him this year?
Well, he's very, very talented, and he has kind of a dual threat approach to his game. He can do some things in the the ride and decide game, and he can also throw the ball. He's quick, and so he has a little bit of that dual threat. And so it seems like that's kind of what they've done a little bit when he's been in the game. But he can also throw the ball really, really well. So we'll have to go through and really look at the film and find out what the tendencies are. But at the end of the day, we're not going to change really what we do defensively based on who's in the game. They don't have that much of a different package.
Over here far right, Kyle Berry, WBNS. Do you work on this game year-round, and if so, what kind of things do you do, and how much do you watch them throughout tape of what they do?
Yeah, we always have one eye on them. It's just the way we go. We do our business, in recruiting or in the season. You can't be crazy about it, otherwise you're going to get distracted from what the task at hand is during the season. But we always have an eye on them, and as you know, in the off season we have different things that we do, whether it's in practice or in the weight room, that's dedicated towards this game.
There's a lot of traditions that go with this game: senior tackle, the marching band. Every coach that's been here has tried to put their print too. Have you created anything now that you're the head coach for this week?
Well, not really, other than just trying to continue the great tradition that's been here. I think there's a lot with this week. There's a lot on our guys' plate, and some great traditions. Obviously, the band coming on Sunday night is a great tradition. We have Thanksgiving We always bus up to Ann Arbor. So there's a lot anyway with Thanksgiving and everything this week. So the biggest thing for us is just, really talking to our guys about how to manage this week, how to get your rest, how to stay focused. And with a little bit of a different week, with so much going on, really not a little bit, a lot going on, just really focused on preparing to play the best game they can possibly play at noon. And that's really what we've spent our time on.
Ryan, in a game like this with CJ, who's so calm and, always just sort of easygoing, knowing what's coming on Saturday, do you guys arrange for him to talk to guys like Justin or JT or Dwayne about what to expect in that stadium and, how to prepare for this game differently?
No, because while it's obviously a huge game for so many reasons, the game itself isn't any different than playing the game, against a really good opponent. You have to still go out there and play the game. You can't overthink things. Certainly there's a lot riding on it. But other than that, we're still playing football, and it's still going to be, a loud environment and all those things, and against a really good team. So, there's certain things you want to talk about, but there's also things that, you just got to go out there and do what you've done all year and have confidence in that, because we've built up, a lot of good reps this year.
How much do you think playing at Nebraska helped you guys get ready for this? Because, it's not the same rivalry, obviously, but the atmosphere in Nebraska was pretty good, and a fan base that's very, intense.
Yeah, I think, even the first game against Minnesota, and playing on some of these road games has been great, and it's all part of the puzzle on where we've gone today and part of the journey. And this will be a new step in the journey. After on Saturday, on Sunday morning, our whole team will have played in this game. That'll be another new thing. There's been a lot of new things this year, and so this has been obviously on our schedule for a long time. We've been preparing for it, and so now we got to have a good week.
Fourth row middle, Patrick Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, similar to what Bill asked you, but when there's, say throughout the records, I think you said that after the game, but when the records are what they are this year,
yeah.
Does that change anything? Not necessarily what you do, I know how you guys prepare for it, but just the mentality of going into a game when, like you said, there's everything on the line.
No, the preparation is going to stay the way it is, and that's something that we've always talked about, is just our standard and, focusing on us. But that being said, when you play against a really good team, you got to do your homework. You got to know where their strengths and their weaknesses are, what they do schematically, all the above. So, I think there's a part of that that's true.
You mentioned watching this game when you were younger. Was that just because of how big it is? I know there's plenty of rivalry games that happen across the country this week, but being in Massachusetts, were you aware, of this? Maybe not on the level you are now, but different than maybe in Alabama, Auburn, or some of the other rivalry games.
Yeah. I just it was just growing up one of those things you just always watched. If you love college football, this is the biggest game there is, and just to remember, great games and so many people caring so much about this game. And it didn't really matter where you were. Certainly in Ohio and up north, it was front and center. But across the country, it's the same way.
Got time for just a few more. Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now and Sports Illustrated.
Coach, the two games against Penn State and Nebraska, red zone offensive efficiency was not particularly good. The last couple of weeks, things have certainly gotten much better. What has been cleaned up the last couple of weeks that's enabled you guys to be more efficient?
I think we've been cleaner, just overall execution. The penalties have been down. We got to keep that up if we're going to win this game. I think we had one penalty last week total. And when you look back on those games, there was a ton of them, and a bunch of them on offense, just foolish ones that got us off schedule. And certainly when you get off schedule in the red zone, that's when you really get yourself out of whack. I feel like the run fits have been better. We've been doing a better job staying on schedule in the run game and being more efficient there. So I think when you combine all those things, it's allowing for better efficiency.
Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have gotten a ton of recognition that maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba hasn't quite received on a national level. Perhaps it's just the veteran status, but it feels like Jackson Smith-Njigba has quietly had maybe slightly better of a year than either Chris or Garrett. What have you seen from him that makes him really stand out, maybe beyond the statistics?
Well, I just, I don't know who, when you say better year, I don't know what that means. I think they've all played at a high level, and I think Jackson has done a very, very good job on the perimeter blocking. He's done a good job on third down. He's done a good job on first down. He's been just efficient with what he's done. And I think all three of the guys are different. They bring different things to the table. But the thing that I really appreciate about all of them is their unselfishness. And certainly with Jackson, early on, he was doing a lot of the blocking and just different things like that. And the ball was, maybe going to, Garrett and Chris a little bit more. But, you never saw him get selfish about it at all. And then all of a sudden it's come around and he's played well. So all three of those guys got to play well. And you just don't know going into a game who's going to get the majority of those touches. And it's not anything good or bad, for any three of them. It's just sometimes the way the game goes.
Third row right, Tim May, Letterman row.
Yeah, just a couple of quickies. Ryan, has CJ wrung out the offense the last couple of weeks? Meaning, has he gotten pretty much the most out of it you could ask for when he's in there? And do you see that continuing to evolve, his ability to find the guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the issues are always there. I say that all the time. And it's our job to make sure we identify what those issues are and to be clean. And, certainly the efficiency's been much better, but, by no means perfect, anybody on offense. And so, we got to continue to grow and get build and get stronger and keep upgrading. Like we talked about, every week has got to be an upgrade.
And, do you personally, with everything you've got going on, are you able to find quiet time for yourself? Do you make quiet time for yourself to just think through things? Do you have that, or do you even have to do that?
Someone asked me about 3 or 4 years ago in the off season. We're talking about just the day-to-day stuff, and someone asked me, "So when do you have time on your own?" And I thought for myself, "Boy, I never do." And I really thought about that long and hard. And then during the pandemic and during COVID, I had an opportunity to kind of spend a little more time by myself just because of the way things were. And so I've tried to do that some, certainly not on a week like this. There's no time. Every single second is you have to maximize every single second. So by the time that game's over, you're blown out. It's just the way it goes. But during the season, I do try to find some time. Certainly, you don't get to see your family much. So when you do have free time, you like to be around your family because that kind of gives you a lot of peace as a coach, is being around your wife and kids, and they certainly do that for me. But every once in a while, it is good to have a little peace and quiet. I would say the only time right now would maybe be in the car and just turn the music down and just take about 15, 20 minutes and enjoy a little time on yourself.
And one other quickie, do you have a propensity in games like this, you personally, to be more tight or more loose when it comes to like literally calling the offense? I mean, what have you found?
I don't know. I mean, I think it just depends on the situation of the game, and there's so many variables at play, and you just have to do whatever you think is best to win the game. And if that means winning 10-7, that means winning 10-7. That means winning, 62-60. That's what you got to do too. You don't know what that scoreboard is going to look like, and it isn't about anything other than winning the game. And whatever you think is best at that time, you got to do.
And final questions, third row right, Doug Lavery, Cleveland.com.
Just out of curiosity, do you know Mike McDonald at all? You ever met him?
I don't. No, I don't.
You talked about watching that 2016 video with RJ, right? That kind of helped introduce you. That wasn't just an Ohio State-Michigan game the year before you got here. That was like a great game, right? Double overtime. Sometimes there are games that sort of enter the fabric of the rivalry a little more than others, right? You guys dropping whatever it was, 62 and 56 the last two times in this game. What do you think that has done to the rivalry for your offense the last two times in this game to show out like that? How has that affected the rivalry?
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe when it's all said and done, and I'm done here, we can go back and look at some of those things. But right now, it's like I'm so focused on this game right now and trying to maximize our team and get ready to play in this game. And I certainly appreciate the question, but that means nothing. Then we got to play really good in this game, and then maybe in a few years, we can go back and look at what these years have been like. But all I can think about is playing in this game.
They threw the ball to Donovan Edwards 10 times last week. There have been, for instance, Chris Olave for you guys, his freshman year, end of the year, 2 touchdown casts against Michigan.
Yep.
What does it take for a freshman skill guy to come on like that at the end of the year? And how does that affect your prep when all of a sudden Edwards is a much bigger part of their game plan than they had been previously?
Yeah, good player. We recruited him. He's the same year as Trey, and has a good skill set. So like you said, when Chris, that freshman year, he blocked the punt, had 2 touchdown catches. Then the next year, Garrett really came on the scene. And that was a big game for him as a freshman. And so I use those two examples all the time to a young freshman that, sometimes it takes that full year for you to get your feet in the ground. And certainly Donovan's a good player and a lot of respect for him. And so it looks like he's really coming into his own right now. So we got to be aware of where he's at.
And then I'm going to ask you an awards question that maybe you don't want to answer because it's Michigan week, but they just released a bunch of the individual award finalists today. Biletnikoff Award, for instance, 3 guys, 3 receivers, no Ohio State guys. All-American teams are being selected right now. Some of us in this room are voters on stuff. From your viewpoint, what would your advice be to any voter on all this stuff about how you differentiate a team that has a lot of good players doing something and maybe guys who are standouts and are great players, but stand out more on other teams? I think you know what I'm asking, and I just think, we vote for this stuff. It can be hard. I'm just curious what your advice would be on that.
Yeah, and I don't like talking about it during this week, and I usually don't like talking about it in general, individual awards, but I will say that I agree. I think the individual award should go to the best players, not necessarily the best statistics. And I think that sometimes there's a lot of, different scenarios for the players at Ohio State. We just, like you said, we have several good players on both sides of the ball. And sometimes we get into games where they're maybe not playing as many snaps as some of the other guys across the country. So I think that should be taken into consideration.